Welcome again, it's Paul Raye from Think Accountants, and today we're going to be talking about safety in the workplace. And I have with me Suzanne Diprose from Performance Advantage. Welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you, Paul.
We know that safety in the workplace has become quite high profile these days. We see a lot in the media about it. So Suzanne, can you tell me what are the primary legal requirements for safety in the workplace?
Thanks for having me, Paul. Employers are all required to actually provide a safe place of work. So that's one sentence, if you like, but there's a whole lot that actually fit underneath that, Paul. So they need to have an understanding and knowledge of their workplace. Now, you might think, oh, well, everybody knows that. But actually, if you're sitting in an office, you might not actually know about what that machine does down there and how it could cut off fingers accidentally or something else like that. So you have to have an intimate knowledge, really, of your workplace and where the risks actually are. And once you've actually identified the risks, you've got to have some risk controls put in place. So the idea is to really eliminate risks, but if you cannot eliminate risks, that you manage them, so to mitigate them as much as you possibly can. And that actually requires consultation and involvement with your staff, because again, if you're in the office, you're not the one using the machine, they are using the machine, or you know, out in the road, or I don't know, digging, or goodness knows whatever else people are doing in their work role. So you've got to have a really good understanding of what they're doing, the processes they're putting in place, the resources that they have, and even the amount of time or workload or hours that they're actually doing something. If you're standing at the, I don't know, the sink doing dishes for 10 hours a day, my kids did that at restaurants, etc., both really tall, bending over sinks, you know, that's going to be a workplace injury sooner or later because of the length of time they're actually doing something. So you really have to understand, well, what are the risks, not just maybe even something that's evident, but over time. So you've got to then put in some processes for that. They're also required to have reporting processes. So therefore, consultation and reporting is a critical thing in workplace health and safety. And you've got to actually meet compliance standards. And they actually are a little bit different between different businesses, or business industries, I should say, really. For instance, safe work method statements are a legal requirement within the construction industry. It's not a legal requirement in the accountant's office, right?
We have some very, very dangerous equipment in the accountant's office.
And paper cuts could be there, yeah. And that nasty old photocopy, you've got to be careful. So you've got to do due diligence. So, and your safety systems and processes, resources and management, it's got to match the level of risk. I met with somebody the other day who's got a tree service, like tree lopping, etc. Of course, that's going to be a dangerous industry.
So it's actually a high risk danger.
Yes, it is, yes. So you can probably look at if your insurance is high, right, for work cover, that's probably going to be an industry that you want to make sure you've got good safety standards that you've got good safety resources and programs to manage it, so you can mitigate it. So, yeah.
I see, so I'm not too sure how recent this is, but some time ago, the highest, from a work cover point of view, premium point of view, the highest premiums were in roof tilers and in nurses.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously we expect that nurses have a lot of obviously lifting back issues, so that's...
Yeah, it'll be shoulder, neck and back for nurses, yeah.
So we mentioned an accountant's office, so as an accountant, what would I be expected to have in the way of some sort of safety or procedures or whatever?
Yeah, I think a lot of people will take safety as being a physical thing, and actually we've seen a lot of change in the legislation about it actually being psychological safety as well. So that is an impact that you maybe want to think about. But no matter what work environment you are in, there is always manual handling as a process, and you know, if it's shifting tables or loads of paper or anything else like that. So you would even want to look at manual handling in your workplace.
So would I be required to have a written document to document risk
Yeah,
in an organisation like mine?
There is no legislation that says you must, but if something actually happens and someone, I know your workplace, you've got stairs there, right? And it's an old workplace in terms of the building. It's old. And
Oldish.
oldish, okay.
Mature.
When yes, we like that. Yes, yeah. Like some people we know. Yes. So you would actually have to look at your risks and make sure that you've got policies around the biggest risks. Policies are about what you want to have happen, and then procedures around that. And sometimes if it is a high risk, and it might be one of the big causes of accidents, no surprise probably, is vehicle collisions. So if your staff are actually going out to go and see your clients on site, that's something you would want to consider, right? And whether or not it's their car or your car, if they're driving their car during your work hours, you've still got liability. So you would want to make sure that the car is safe. So there may be some some vehicle checks that you would want to put in place, right?
So you're seriously suggesting that I have to check my employees'
No, they can check
vehicle?
it, but you would have to have a system around it that you would actually know that they're safe. Okay.
Okay.
If something, because that's where the chain of command will come back to, should something actually happen.
So if that's a problem in potentially in my industry,
Yep.
it's potentially even a bigger problem in a lot of other industries.
It is one of the biggest causes of workplace fatalities. 41% or something like that is around vehicle collisions. So, and I mean, that could be a truck, okay, that could be a car, but vehicle collisions could also be a forklift. Forklifts are the most dangerous things in most workplaces that, you know, have a warehouse, etc., because of the movement. So you need a traffic management plan in those places.
Clearly out on the road, when we're not a business that uses roads for work, if I've got one of my team going to see a client, would it be? I mean, I can have no control over how they drive, but the safety of their vehicle.
You can have a policy about using vehicles. You can have a policy about driving that they would, and you'd have to have education around that. Yeah.
Okay. So should I be looking, or should we be looking at ensuring that our employees provide us with a service record or something like that to show that the vehicle's being maintained?
A vehicle checklist. Yep. That before they use the car, that it's, you know, the tyres are pumped, you know, it's had oil changed or blah blah blah. These a basic thing. Yeah, we often do that for small businesses. Yeah.
But they're driving their own vehicles.
Even if they're driving their own vehicle. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, so what are the penalties for getting it wrong?
Heavens. Well, if you're not in control of of safety and something goes wrong, and I've had it recently at a workplace. The penalties range, but for an individual, it can be steep. It can be 600k or something like that. So you could lose your house. Yeah. So there is something in OH&S, if you like, in the legislation about a chain of command. So anybody who's in the chain of command who has responsibilities in the workplace for governing that workplace. So it could be the supervisor. You might have sent me out and just said, well, you know, take your jolly Volkswagen and off you go, and I have a collision with a truck or something else like that, you could be responsible, and so would anybody else further up the tree. Okay, so it's a shared responsibility. I also have responsibility, and that's why I'd have to fill in that checklist, etc. My responsibility as an employee, if I'm on the workplace, is to actually follow your protocols, to report and to not cause harm to myself or others. Yeah.
So training and education obviously is a big part of it.
Yes.
And it's a matter of documenting that training and having employees sign off. That
Yeah,
they've done
absolutely.
the training.
Or have a system that will actually register that people do. But yes, that sign off, those that record keeping is invaluable. Yeah, and having for all of your dangerous protocols, processes, machinery, facilities, that you have a safe work method statement for that. Yeah, because that's actually it's not the gold standard, but that's the standard that a work safe inspector would be looking at. So that you've got your policies and that your safety training is happening. It's very critical, the training, right from induction. Because actually, if you think about construction or other dangerous businesses, or industries, I should say, the biggest risk is new employees, quite frankly. And they might be new to the industry, but often in construction, when you hear about some of the accidents, they're with young workers. They're just not trained. So therefore, you even want a safe work method statement for doing training and induction.
Right.
So there's a lot underneath it that you would want to have in place so you're covered. With my small businesses, we look at a series of policies that fit their particular industry and also a series of safe work method statements. And then we give that to them. We consult with the businesses. We modify that for the particular circumstances. It's up to them to actually do the training. I won't follow up unless I do consulting with them, but I will make sure that the employees and especially new people have actually undertaken that training. So that they really can't use the machinery or the process or whatever they're doing unless they've actually got a signature on there. So that is a record that you're actually meeting some of your requirements as an employer. But you can't just say, well, I put you through this training 12 months ago. You actually still have to follow through and supervise that person and actually say, put your safety glasses on or something else like that. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Suzanne. I mean, obviously we don't want to scare people, but
it is a bit scary.
This is scary stuff. And while, you know, we don't want to over or understate it, I think it's a matter that then it needs to be looked at.
Yeah.
And depending on the level of risk you have in your business, then you need to make sure you've got the right sort of safety culture in the organisation,
Yes.
the right training, the right processes that's documented, and get somebody to help you once you see that there's perhaps more in this than perhaps you thought, and I'm sure that you'd be able to help out if anybody needs
yes,
some help.
certainly we can do an audit, and that's the first place. Do some sort of diagnostic about, well, what are the risks, what are the level of the risks, what should be the priority to mitigate those risks in the business. Yeah.
Well, there we have it, folks. Another enlightening session from Suzanne, and this time on safety in the workplace. So thank you again, Suzanne, and we look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Thank you.